Hey guys, it's Miss Richardson. So I just wanted to talk to you guys a little bit about the activities and the skirmishes that Georgia encountered during the Revolutionary War. So you guys have been reading up on what's been going on in Georgia, the foundation of Georgia, how we were the last colony created by Great Britain. We were the youngest, we were the poorest. We were very, very dependent on Great Britain. So when people started arriving with James Oglethorpe to settle the colony of Georgia, it was in 1732, 1733. Well, then by 1775, which isn't really that long, it's just like 40 years, 43 years, there is rumors throughout the colonies, all the colonies, about colonists wanting to separate from Great Britain and fight for our independence. So imagine how scary that would be. Let's say that you and your family, who's been part of the United States, and your grandparents and great-grandparents have all been American citizens. Let's say your state decided that it was going to come out of the Union and it was going to create its own country. Well, there would be a lot of uncertainty with that, right? That would be scary. And so Georgia, especially as a young colony, dependent on Great Britain, the idea that they were not going to be protected by Great Britain anymore when they were encountering Native Americans. They were still having skirmishes with Native Americans, and Great Britain's soldiers were there to help protect the colony. A lot of the trading going on between Georgia colonists and Great Britain that was causing some colonists to become wealthy was in jeopardy. And so there was a lot of uncertainty going on. And so even though there were quite a few Georgians that decided that, yeah, we're going to fight for our independence, we're going to be our own country, there were a lot, especially the older generation, that wanted to stay where they were. People don't really like change. And so that was very scary for them. So let's look at a few slides that kind of go through the role of Georgia in the American Revolution. So there were two different groups here, right? We have the Loyalists. So those are people that were loyal to Great Britain. Like we had a royal governor, James Wright. He was sent here to speak on behalf of King George III. So he was definitely a loyalist. And then the people who wanted to fight for our independence was called the Patriots. The American colonists were split by their beliefs on independence. Those differences tore the colonies apart, and families were divided about their beliefs about American independence. Throughout the colonies, the American Revolutionary Wars, throughout the colonies, the American Revolutionary years were violent and bloody. Some pictures here. Many older colonists had been born in England and were still loyal to the mother country. So they still had family members in England. They were very, they had all their childhood memories of when they grew up in England. So they wanted to stay part of Great Britain. And these people were called the Loyalists. Despite being in the colonies, Loyalists still felt like British subjects of the king. Also, many people were against independence because they wanted to protect their economic interests. So here's some of the king's men. The Tories, nicknames for them were lobsterbacks, redcoats. I wonder why. Yep, because of those bright red wool coats they all wore. So lobsterbacks was not a compliment. It was a derogatory term. Colonists would call the king's army. So the Patriots, settlers who supported independence, was called patriots. Patriots viewed the Revolutionary War as a necessary fight in order to break free of British tyranny. They wanted to make their own rules and laws. Depiction of early colonists that were fighting for the independence of the United States of America. Georgia's desire for freedom was not as strong as in other colonies. The colony was only about 40 years old and had prospered under the king's rule. Remember when the Georgians came here? King George II said, if you guys go to Georgia and you help settle the land, you know, we're going to give you 50 acres of land. We're going to give you tools. We're going to even give you food for a year. So if you were given all that and you had a chance to come over here and life was going well for you, you probably felt like you needed to support Great Britain because how they set you up, right? Georgians also relied on British protection from the American Indians. However, there still were, you should say, many Georgians who felt unhappy with England's laws and taxes and desired independence. In 1778, British troops began moving inland from the Georgia coast. So by this time, the very first battle of the American Revolution, the Battle of Lexington and Concord had been fought. That was in 1775. We had created the Declaration of Independence. That was in 1776. So we declared our independence from Great Britain, and then we had to fight for it, right? So by the next year after the Declaration of Independence was signed, that's when the following year is when Georgia started seeing a little bit of action. Most of the action was happening in the northern colonies up until this point. The first battle that took place in Savannah, when the British forces snuck through surrounding swamps and attacked the Patriot garrison. Savannah fell to the British on December 29, 1778, and Augusta came under British control a month later. So once battle came to Georgia, they very quickly, Georgian colonists lost the city of Savannah, and Savannah was under British occupation almost the entire Revolutionary War period. Now up the coast from Savannah, so remember most of our colonists were living on the coast. So we have Savannah right on the coast, but then if you go up the coast, the next big city is Augusta. So those were the two big cities in Georgia. And first Savannah fell to Great Britain, and then Augusta came over under British control only a month later. All right, so in February 1779, the British commander in Augusta called for more soldiers in order to capture the rest of the colony. Colonel James Boyd responded and led nearly 700 British soldiers toward Augusta. The group stopped to camp at Kettle Creek, and that's in Washington, Georgia, where Washington County is in Georgia today, which is where I was born, by the way. A Patriot militia led by Elijah Clark and John Dooley surprised attacked the soldiers. So this was a group of British soldiers and Georgia loyalists who were fighting with the British. They decided, okay, we got this group together. We're going to go to Augusta and we're going to help Great Britain take over the rest of the colony. Well, this little battle happened in Kettle Creek, which is in Washington, Georgia, and Elijah Clark ended up becoming a hero, and his name became a household name after this battle. They surprise attacked them. Clark and Dooley led their troops across Kettle Creek and surrounded the camp, while a third group attacked head-on. Only 250 British soldiers escaped. So there is a portrait of Elijah Clark, and if you've ever been to Clark County, that's where the name came from, Clark County High School. I know our high school plays Clark County High School in football. And there is a depiction of the battle at Kettle Creek, which was a success for the Patriots. It was a success for the Patriots. The surprise attack caused the British to withdraw from Augusta temporarily. The Battle of Kettle Creek broke the British stronghold in Georgia, so the whole colony never fell to British hands because of the victory at Kettle Creek. It led to a Patriot victory and boosted the morale of Georgia's Patriots. So Georgia's Patriots were, you know, Savannah was captured by the British, then Augusta was captured by the British, and so the Patriots in Georgia became very tired. They felt very, very defeated. And so this little battle, this victory is something that they really needed, and it boosted their morale. They were almost completely out of supplies. They needed more guns. They needed food. They even needed horses. And so once they got this battle, this victory, and they took a lot of those things from the British soldiers, And so they were able to fill their supplies up. So if you go there today, you'll see a marker, the Battle of Kettle Creek. So there's markers like this throughout the state of Georgia. So whenever you come to one, you need to stop and read it. You need to realize what went on. Wherever it is that you see one, you need to say, wonder what happened here. This is part of our history. Let me stop and read this. All right, now there was a second battle in Georgia that was a total failure for the Patriots. On October 9th, 1779, the second bloodiest battle of the American Revolution occurred in Savannah, Georgia. A joint force of French and Patriot troops attacked Savannah and attempted to regain control of the city from the British. So remember, we had the 7 Years' War. We had years of fighting between Great Britain and the French. And then France lost all that land in the middle of the country. Well, guess what? The French didn't forget about that. And so when the American colonists said, we're going to fight against Great Britain for our independence, there were a lot of French militia that came over to join our fight against Great Britain. They're like, all right, let's beat up on Great Britain. I love it. All right, so there is a lot of information you can find online about the Siege of Savannah. There's some great videos. I think you should take some time and investigate that, especially those of you that love history and love to read about battles. There's some great resources on the web. So the battle itself only lasted 90 minutes, the Siege of Savannah, but thousands of French and American soldiers were killed. So this was a dismal failure. That's what I just said. The attack was a dismal failure, and Savannah remained under the British control until 1782. So Battle of Kettle Creek, Patriots won. We won that. Siege of Savannah, nope, lost it. Devastating to the American colonists and the Indians that were fighting with us. Now, this is one of the Frenchmen I was talking about. His name is Casimir Pulaski, Count Casimir Pulaski. Oh, I'm sorry, he was not French, he was Polish. Now, this guy came over from Poland. He was so inspired by America's fight for our independence. Now, there was a lot of colonies of countries around the world, right? But we were the first group of people that decided that they were going to fight against their homeland. They were going to actually fight their own country for their independence. So this guy heard about this. He was from Poland, and he was so inspired by the colonists that he decided to come over and fight with us. So Count Casimir Pulaski, he was a famous Polish soldier who had come to America to fight for freedom. He died in a cavalry charge during this battle, the Siege of Savannah. So if you've ever been to Pulaski County, we even had Fort Pulaski down in around Savannah. Those places were named for him. If you go into the city of Savannah, there's a lot of monuments around the city for different people, and Casimir Pulaski has his own monument. He was considered a hero. He did die in one of the battles, but he was very brave to come over and help us fight for our independence. So Pulaski County was named for this count from Poland. All right, so the Treaty of Paris, so guess what? No one would have ever believed it. The colonists beat Great Britain, considered the strongest army in the entire world. Colonists, backcountry, not trained colonists of Georgia or the colonies of Great Britain beat Great Britain. No one could believe it. No one would have ever guessed that happened. However, it happened. So the Treaty of Paris ended the war, and in 1783 granted America independence from England. The United States of America was officially created, and of course, we see our flag, our nation flag, and who became our very first president, George Washington, right there in that picture. All right, so not a whole lot of information to give you, but that just kind of skims the surface of the American Revolutionary War. So our standards was just wanting us to focus on Georgia's contribution to the war. But of course, there's tons of information that you can find, those of you that love American history. So I encourage you to look up some more information on your own. But basically, those two battles are the ones that we had to focus on. So make sure you realize that the Battle of Kettle Creek was a victory for the Patriots. We won, boosted our morale, helped us get our supplies that we needed so badly. Siege of Savannah was a terrible failure for us, and Savannah was in the hands of Great Britain for almost the entire Revolutionary War. All right, so next it leads us to our independent country. We had to establish a government. We needed a document to describe what kind of government we had, what our country represents. So our next unit, we'll start talking about those documents, the Articles of Confederation, and then of course the United States Constitution, which still governs us even today. All right, you guys, have a great day.